The Great Wise Man. Once upon a time there was an old man. People thought he knew everything, so he was called in Sinhala Mahadenamuttha, the great wise man who knew everything. When people had a problem, they went to Mahadenamuttha, who solved it for them, and they were all happy. He had 5 pupils, very loyal and faithful. One of them was called Polbamuna because he had a face, Muna, as round as a split half of a coconut. Polbad. One of them was called Kotukitaya because he had a body as thin as a stick. Kotu. One of them was called Indikatu Pancha because he had a body as skinny as a sewing needle. Indikatu. One of them was called Rabbada Aida because he had a belly as round and red as a ripe areca nut. Rabbada. One of them was called Kuakbadilla because he had a belly bada as long as an areca nut. Kuak. One day when Mahadenamuttha and his pupils were on a journey, they came across a big river at sunset. Mahadenamuttha spoke to his pupils. We must not cross the river in the dark because the river might swallow us. Let's wait till the river falls asleep. That's good, replied the pupils. But how can we find out if the river is asleep or not? It is simple, said Mahadenamuttha. We will make a torch out of dried coconut leaves, light it and hold it to the water. If the water is awake, it will make a big sound. Polbamuna lighted a torch, walked slowly up to the river, and placed the torch on water as quietly as possible, so that the river will not be disturbed. However, as the fire of the torch touched the water, it made such a big sound, swish, that Polbamuna ran away leaving the torch behind. The river is still awake, he shouted. We will not cross the river tonight, said Mahadenamuttha, and they passed the night on the bank of the river. The next morning they crossed the river, all 6 of them, the teacher and the 5 pupils. They were, however, not sure whether the river had swallowed any one of them. Let us count and see if we are all here, all 6 of us, suggested Mahadenamuttha. He started to count. I am here, he said, pointing at himself. Then pointing at each of the others, one by one, he said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then he shouted, Oh, there are only 5 of us. One has been swallowed by the river. Let me also count, said Indikatu Pancha, and began by saying, I am here, and pointing at the others, one by one, said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He also shouted, Oh, there are only 5 of us. One has been swallowed by the river. In the same way, the others also counted and found that their counting ended with 5, one less than the number that crossed the river. They all began to weep. A man who was passing by heard these men weeping. Why are you crying? He asked. They told him that while they were crossing, the river had swallowed one of them. Let me see how you counted, said the passer-by, and he was shown how they counted. The passer-by thought how foolish these men were. Well, I can bring him back if you do what I tell you. All of them agreed. All of you turn round, and as I hit each of you with this club from behind, please shout aloud, I am 1, I am 2, and so on. The man hit Mahadenamuttha first, and he shouted, "I'm one." Then he hit Paul Bear Moona, and he shouted, "I'm two." He kept on hitting in this way until the last one shouted, "I'm six." How happy they were to get their lost friend back, even though they were in pain. They thanked the passerby and started on their journey again.